Alrighty, now for more on the World Cup security, we're joined by Douglas Smith. He is the Executive Vice President and General Manager of MWW Public Affairs and is a former Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Welcome to our broadcast. Thank you for coming in. So let's set the stage here in Brazil. We know that probably 500,000 foreigners will be visiting for the World Cup. We also know that the unions are promoting strikes in 12 of the host cities. Right now, we know that the subway workers have been striking, and there are rumored military strikes in Rio. A lot of commotion and potential problems. How do you prepare for this?
I'll tell you, it's a big job. I was down there about 2 years ago in my role at DHS to meet with the organizers. And one of the things we stress to them is infrastructure, and that without proper infrastructure, no matter what you do on the security front, it breaks down. And that's the thing that really worries me, is as the infrastructure continues to fail, be it transportation, electricity, water, that creates civil disobedience. And when that happens, that's when they're in trouble. They have a large federal police force, around 250,000. They recently signed a new contract, so they won't strike, hopefully. But how well they are trained, we still need to see. The amount that Brazil has spent on security, 8 or 9 times what South Africa spent the last time. So I think it's all things to keep an eye on. But it is the breakdown of the infrastructure that I'd be most concerned about.
Right. Well, so it's been known for a lot of crime, obviously. They have an epidemic of muggers in the cities. We're now talking about these organized hooligans coming from Argentina. Before the Argentine team went, they were holding up signs at the airport saying the Maldives are ours, Malvinas is ours. What do you do about different factions from outside areas?
Right. I mean, that's a challenge when your baseline is that in Brazil, the murder rate is 26 times Great Britain. So if that's your baseline, and then you bring in 600 to 800,000 foreign tourists to be part of the event, you can only imagine the challenges they'll face. I mean, one of the things they've been working all along is to set up regional security intelligence hubs in all 12 of the cities where the games will be. I think that will help, but it's a sheer numbers game, and I think that's the challenge the Brazilian government is going to face, is where do they put their limited resources, because they will be spread around an entire country. And they're going to have to identify where those greatest risks are. You know, I think the one good thing is that outside interest, more of a traditional terrorism, is probably not as great as in other host places, such as we're in Sochi. That being said, as we've seen in other countries, soccer hooligans are a tough bunch.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Is this unprecedented security? 600 cameras, 170,000 personnel? Seen it like this in the past World Cups?
It is by far the highest they've ever had. Clearly, when post 9/11, the game changed. But just look at South Africa. I mean, everyone thought South Africa would be the biggest one ever. This is 8 times what South Africa did. So I think the challenge is where they started. Their baseline was so low that just to get them to where they needed to be, they had to add tremendous resources. I think the greatest worry, though, is once you get past the frontline defense, those 250,000 federal, is how well are the private contractors trained? And there doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence to that. So that's an area I'd really want to watch.
All righty. Douglas Smith, thank you so much for your time and your insight and for coming in. We appreciate it. Meantime, tennis top-seeded Peng Shuai